Hello everyone, and welcome back to What If Starkiller Survived? Last time, we left off at Galen constructing his own lightsaber and readying to attack Kamino in a bid to secure an army of clones made from a mixture of Jango Fett's DNA and his own. So, let's waste no time and get right into this. Unlike The Force Unleashed 2, Darth Vader doesn't know about the upcoming attack on Kamino for two reasons. The first is due to the fact Galen isn't a clone. He doesn't expect his apprentice to go to the world like he did in the game. This plays right into the second reason. Again, unlike The Force Unleashed 2, Vader doesn't know or expect the Rebellion would have information on his army because they received it from sympathizers in secret as opposed to the Starkiller clone. What I'm getting at here is this surprise attack is, without a doubt, a surprise attack. The Empire has no warning that it's coming and is caught with its pants down. The fleet strength of the two sides goes thusly. For the Empire, there are 4 Imperial Star Destroyers, one less due to Darth Vader not being there, several smaller support craft, and anywhere between 1 to 4 Gladiator-class Star Destroyers. For the Rebellion, there is 1 Nebulon B frigate, 2 Assault Frigate Mark 1s, around 8 CR-90s, 5 GR-75 medium transports, 3 DP-20s, 1 Dreadnought heavy cruiser, 1 repurposed civilian frigate, and 1 Gladiator-class Star Destroyer salvaged after the Battle of Ilum. Should note that this Star Destroyer is much smaller than the standard Imperial class. Despite having a numerical advantage in terms of ships, the Rebels are vastly outclassed by the Imperial Star Destroyers. The battle is far more even than the Rebels would like it to be. Despite the advantage of surprise attack and the smaller Imperial fleet guarding the world, assaulting Kamino is still a daunting task because the Empire understands its strategic importance. The ensuing fleet battle is chaotic, as Imperial and Rebel forces collide. Galen and Coda do what they can to level the playing field with their applications of the Force and tactical experience, respectively. However, it isn't enough. The smaller Corvette and Frigate-class ships of the Rebel fleet just don't have the firepower to combat multiple Imperial Star Destroyers and their escort craft. Outside of the initial salvo and Alpha Strike, which was made possible due to catching the Imperials off guard, the two fleets proceed to kill each other at a rate that the Rebels can't sustain. It's a battle of attrition, something the Rebellion cannot afford, especially when the Star Destroyers are left mostly unharmed. The battle over Kamino proceeds to turn into a slog, as the Rebels lose their early advantages and the Imperials come to grips with their current situation. At this point, however, the tide begins to turn. Suddenly, the surface of Kamino lights up as the planetary defenses begin to fire upon the Imperial ships. At the same time, a Venator-class designated the Resolute emerges from the surface and engages the Star Destroyers from behind with its batteries and host of strike craft. This catches the Imperials completely by surprise, and their forces fall into disarray. Coordinating with the Venator and planetary defenses, the Rebels pick out a single Star Destroyer and focus all of their firepower upon it, resulting in its destruction. This leads to a massive Imperial rout as their forces are in disarray and caught in a position they can't salvage. After crippling another Star Destroyer and wiping out most of the support ships and gladiators, the Imperial fleet retreats. The Rebels have won the day. To summarize what happened on Kamino itself, the Kaminoans activated the Last Legion and ordered them to wipe out the Imperial garrison and capture the planetary defenses so they could turn it on the Imperial fleet. As this went on, the Kaminoans also reactivated a salvaged Venator they bought from the Sulistans, which they hid beneath the oceans of Kamino and sent into space so it could assist the Rebel forces. A few things I want to note. The Venator is in fact Anakin's ship, the Resolute. During a battle over Sullust, it was destroyed, but to what degree I can't say properly. Considering Sullust would produce ships for the Rebels, I found it plausible that it would repair the ship after the battle and hold on to it for their own purposes or to sell it. Much like the Last Legion, however, this really does just serve a simple purpose. To pull back the curtain, I was going to have Galen lead a force of soldiers eventually. Considering the number of battles he fights in, it would only make sense he'd have his own force to command. I decided to make this force clones which had Galen's and Jango's DNA to not only tie it into The Force Unleashed 2, but also to provide a bit of fan service. Same holds true for the Resolute. He was gonna have his own ship, he was gonna have his own crew, and he was gonna have his own soldiers. Why not make it something fans already recognize and would find cool to see again? I just wanted to be forward about that since some might find it silly. After the battle, a few things happen. First off, the rebels waste no time evacuating the Kaminoans, clones still on the ground, and any other personnel they can cram aboard their ships. They also retrieve vast amounts of weapons, armor, and vehicles, which the Kaminoans have been stockpiling in preparation for another rebellion. They also gather as much data, material, and machinery they can as it relates to the field of cloning. The rebels, other than Kota, understand how important cloning can be, not just for a prolonged war, but for post-war rebuilding. They are fully aware the Empire is ready and willing to exterminate entire species. It would be good to have some sort of fallback plan in case that was to happen. Once they gathered all they could from Kamino, Kota's fleet bolts as fast as it came. Due to his distaste to clones and ever-growing trust of Galen, Kota gives him command over the Last Legion and the Venator Resolute. This is both a test to see how the young man and a reward for everything he had done over the past few months, closing in on a year. The fact the Legion has his DNA weirds Galen out. However, the acceptance of the clones and how they look up to him is something he finds almost reassuring. The Legion sees him as a pseudo-father figure, a position he can relate to being in. At this point, I want to touch on something I've been neglecting for a while now: the relationship between Juno and Galen. The past few months to a year have been a hectic time for them both as they do their respective duties. Having said that though, in the quiet moments between major operations like Ilum and Kamino, the pair would see each other. The situation in which they expressed their feelings for one another was strange. Neither of them expected they'd both come back alive, but they did. This would lead to several awkward exchanges. However, over time, things would be smoothed out as they both decided to start anew and move forward together. Basically, the romantic relationship would be on hold until they could make sense of the crazy situation they were in. Having the weight of the galaxy upon your shoulders is a pretty nasty burden to bear. As Kota's fleet recovered from the Battle of Kamino and finished dropping off the Kaminoans as well as the other civilian personnel on Yavin 4, the Jedi General would be castigated by Mon Mothma for doing such an operation without her approval. Iblis would approve of his course of action, while Bail acted as a mediator between the two. The consequences of Kota's actions would be nigh non-existent. However, it would further drive a wedge between Iblis and Mothma. The rebel leadership was at each other's throats. If Bail was to die, things could go terribly wrong. The Kaminoans and their cloning technology would be moved to a safe location on a distant world. A world not even Kota or Galen would know the location of. This trump card and possible insurance against the Empire's greatest crimes would be held as one of the top secrets among the rebellion, with only the 3 rebel leaders knowing it outside of those on the planet proper. This would annoy the 2 Jedi, however they had more pressing concerns to worry about. While Kota was training Galen, Juno underwent an operation with Bail's aid that led to Guile Akbar's recruitment into the Rebel Alliance. To put a long story short, Juno aided the resistance movement on Dak, Mon Calamari, in a symbolic victory over the Empire which galvanized the group. The growing militancy of the Mon Calamari and Quarren people of Dak caught the Empire's attention, which led to a show of force and the destruction of 2 to 3 floating cities via orbital bombardment. The intention was to subdue and frighten the populace into complacency. This, however, would have the opposite effect. The Dak resistance movement was preparing to do something big, something which the Rebel Alliance was going to assist with. Now, Mon Mothma's strategy for Operation Domino had failed completely and utterly. For those who can't remember, Operation Domino involved worlds rebelling against the Empire openly and engaging Imperial forces with their sector militaries in show peace battles. The battle-hardened and better-equipped Imperials completely demolished these revolts. Dak had to throw out the Empire. The operation had to have at least one success, or else the future of the rebellion would be in jeopardy. Understanding this, the 3 rebel leaders decided to send support to the world in a limited fashion. The victory had to be an impactful one. It had to show the galaxy there was a chance that the Republic could be restored and that liberty could reign once more. The victory had to not only be strategic, but symbolic. With their minds made up, Organa, Mothma, and even Iblis decided Galen and a portion of the last Legion kitted out in Phase 1 and Phase 2 clone armor should sneak onto Dak and assist the populace in the rebellion. A Jedi leading an army of clones against a corrupt and tyrannical government would be precisely what the galaxy needed to see. But with that said, guys, that is the end of Part 1. A few things I want to apologize for. First off, the way I sound in the video. I'm currently home for spring break, which means the place that I record in is literally a very dusty basement that has a very noisy AC system. So I do noise reduction. I get rid of the humming that I hear as I do this, but that's why the audio quality is not as good. Just wanted to let you all know for those who noticed. For those who didn't notice, that breaks my heart. And then, secondly, one thing I want to state is the days of the early rebellion are kind of, let's just say, a bit dull, not fleshed out all that much. So that's why I'm kind of going piece by piece here, because nothing of note has really happened yet. Like, there isn't an epic adventure Galen can quite go on yet that impacts, the future of the galaxy. It's just not there yet, but it is coming up. So for those who are worried about that, don't worry, it's happening. But right, with that said, I've been Bufar191. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I should be doing one of these about every month, because I get burnt out pretty quick if I do them in rapid succession. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see all you guys next time. Goodbye.